front of his clothes shimmered in it, and as he collapsed onto the stone, spatters dotted the tiles. "Gregory!" Bernard yelled. If Jolene was any judge, this was not the man he'd been expecting. On the steps, Sarah made a yipping sound and glided to the foyer as Bernard cleared the man's legs from the threshold and closed the door. "God, what happened?" "They know," the man gasped. "I'm so sorry. They know." Jolene detected an Eastern European accent, and as he spoke, he passed a bloody slip of paper to Bernard. "Here it is, Bernard. I'm so sorry." Mr. Mitchell's hands trembled as he lifted Gregory's shirt, presumably to find the source of the bleeding. Jolene looked away. She'd seen enough bullet wounds to recognize the damage at a glance, and she didn't care to see any more. "Call an ambulance," Mr. Mitchell commanded. Jolene spun around and hurried toward the phone in the kitchen. "No," Sarah said. "Jolene, go upstairs and get Graham out of the house." Jolene froze. She understood the words, but they made no sense. To get him out meant to take him somewhere, and she hadn't a clue where that might be. "Gregory needs a doctor," Bernard said. His voice broke. "He needs an undertaker," Sarah corrected. She fired a look at Jolene. "Graham, now." "Tell me what's happening," Jolene said. She heard the stress in her own voice, the borderline panic, and the sound upset her. This was not the time to lose control. "Not of your concern," Sarah snapped. Her face was a mask of something awful. If Jolene had encountered the same expression in Jalalabad, she would have assumed the presence of a suicide vest. "Do your job, Jolene. Take my son to safety." Jolene wanted to ask for more details, but realized that they were irrelevant, at least for now. Everything about this screamed urgency of the highest order. Graham had to be roused and dressed. That was step one, and given his personality, it was a big step. Step 2 and beyond were for later. The man on the floor was doomed. Of that, Sarah was correct. His skin looked like gray construction paper with hints of blue around his nose and mouth. As Jolene passed him on her way to the stairs, she made a point of not stepping on the blood. She was living in a nightmare. The nightmare. This was what she'd been hired to do, and this was why they ran all their emergency drills, though Bernard had never said why. And Jolene had always sensed that it was all about an overinflated sense of self-worth. She'd never really bought into any of it. Her job was to protect Graham, while at the same time never cluing him into the fact that he needed protection. She had a hard time believing that he'd never caught a glimpse of her weapon as she drove him to and from school, or wondered why he needed an au pair at his age. But he'd never said anything, at least not to her, so she'd assumed him to be as clueless as he pretended to be. He had a hell of a surprise in store. First, she had to haul his skinny, cranky ass out of bed and get him dressed. The silver light of the television disappeared from under Graham's door as Jolene approached. It was, she knew, anything but a coincidence, and she wasn't the least bit surprised to see him sprawled on his stomach, feigning sleep. She slapped the wall switch and right away missed the days of the incandescent light bulbs with their instantaneous illumination. "Graham!" she barked. "Get up! Get dressed!" He made a grumbling sound, and Jolene realized that she'd misplayed her hand. If she'd ordered him to go to sleep, he'd have leaped out of bed. She didn't have time for this. They didn't have time for this. She grabbed the sheet at the line where it draped beneath his bare shoulders and stripped it down to his ankles. Given his recent adolescent obsessions, she felt relief when she saw the flash of blue boxer shorts. "Hey!" He whirled to face her. "What the hell? We need to leave now. Get out of my room! You can't just—" Jolene planted her hand on his chest and pushed him down into the mattress. "Listen to me, Graham," she said. "A man has been shot and is dying downstairs in the foyer. Your parents..."